eyes and see what kind of human being you are. And I learned a lot from all those people.
Raoul Peck, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Orwell 2 + 2 = 5 is out now in a number of countries. You're listening to The Arts Hour from the BBC World Service. I'm Nikki Beattie. When the Taliban retook Kabul in 2021, they set about undoing some of the changes to Afghanistan society in the previous 20 years following America's invasion. Women's rights have subsequently changed in the country, but as Lise Doucette, the BBC's chief international correspondent, discovered, many women have continued to write poetry, often secretly, specifically landais, a type of short folk poem, often dealing with taboo subjects, sensuality, and even rage. Lise spoke to some of these poets via translators, as we're about to hear. We begin, though, with an example of a landai.
The perfume of my hair has wandered through the air, leaving my neighbours' hearts blushed with new colour.
The poet Taqwa, that's her pen name, is from Kandahar province. It's a deeply conservative area where women have always lived with restrictions. But it didn't deny women opportunities to grow. Taqwa was studying medicine at university when the Taliban returned to power in 2021. They banned women from education after grade 6 all the way to university. But Taqwa had previously published a collection of her own poetry, Taqwa's Tavern.
I love landais because it has a music. You recite it. It's not like a conversation. And the beauty of literature is just outstanding. So I love it. It's very close to my heart.
Translator Eliza Griswold.
The 9 words from the gut and the heart and the angriest of sentiments and the most loving and grief. Pashtun women have a special word for grief that is only the grief of a Pashtun woman, and it's called gham, and that is kind of grief and rage and suffering. And the poems are about love, they're about war, they're about family, they're about God sometimes, but the most powerful ones contain this gham.
Some Taliban leaders had promised not to rule as harshly as they did in the 1990s. But year after year, they've issued decrees restricting the lives of women and girls. Some Taliban leaders have criticized some of the edicts, especially on education. But their top cleric, Hibatullah Akhundzada, refuses to budge. I asked Taqwa whether her poetry had changed since the Taliban took charge.
Yes, my life has changed a lot, and it has impacted my poetry as well, because in the past I didn't have to work so hard because our men had jobs. Now most of the men are jobless, and now I work, I look after the house and look after my family because my husband is jobless. He has been struggling to find a job. So it has all impacted my poetry.
There's lots of changes in my life since the Taliban came to power.
Lima is a young poet who lives in Kabul.
I was a student of literature at Kabul University. I went for 3 years to study hard. And in my year of graduation, I was banned from completing it. So you can imagine, I had hopes for doing a master's. I had hope for doing a PhD. You look around at what has happened to other girls younger than me who are not allowed to go to school, and all those hopes and dreams are crushed. So whether I want it to or not, it has an impact on my writing.
Lise Doucette speaking to women in Afghanistan about landais. Still with me in the Arts Hour studio is Arifa Akbar. Arifa, had you heard of landais before listening to this documentary?
No, I hadn't, and I was really grateful to Lise Doucette for bringing us this programme, because we have said and heard so much about Afghan women, haven't we? About how they have been silenced by the Taliban, how they've been oppressed. But when have we heard from them?
Yeah.
And this just seemed like this jewel. The fact is that these women are writing poems about love, desire, grief, suffering, in their own words, and sometimes risking their lives if they are found to be writing this stuff. It was like a gut punch when I was listening to some of these poems. So I loved learning so much about it. Lisa said, someone tells Lisa said there's a special word for grief and rage and suffering in Pashtun. And it's the same in Urdu, so I related to it. It's gham, and it means just
we
grief.
say
And my mum,
kabhi khushi, kabhi gham.
when
you're sometimes happy, sometimes sad.
Yeah, that's the name of the Bollywood film.
Yes, well done.
So I just felt close to these women's sentiments, just the amount of eroticism as well, and the desire there. I was surprised by this art form that I knew nothing about.
Thank you, Arifa. We're going to end today's Arts Hour with some music. Maria Petrovska is a Ukrainian virtuoso player of the bandura, a large instrument with 65 strings. Arifa, I think you've seen her perform live.
Oh, she's extraordinary. And I hadn't heard the bandura. I'd never heard of it either, and it sounds sort of almost harp-like. It's sort of got a beautiful string quality.
Well, the bandura is considered the national instrument of Ukraine, which has just marked 4 years of war following Russia's invasion. And in honour of her beleaguered country, Maria Petrovska performed live on the BBC and began by introducing the bandura.
The bandura is a traditional Ukrainian instrument combining elements of a lute and a harp. And historically it was played by kobzars, bandura players who traveled from village to village telling old Ukrainian stories. And I'm gonna play a song called Ой у лузі червона калина, which is a folk Ukrainian song. It has become a second anthem for Ukrainians. This is a song about rising and about dignity.
Червона калина похилилася, чогось наша славна Україна зажурилася.
Maria Petrovska performing live on the BBC. That's it for this week's